7 generic equipment of Arcane Barrier, 30 total, majority of the mech, yeah. But the better way you should look at it is, and range is the prime example, is to look at specific, proper Arcane Barrier, right? So I'm talking like Skullhorn, where it still has an impactful effect for the class it's in, or, you know, Sunken Trench. The arm has Arcane Barrier for Ranger, doesn't it? It's Bullseye Braces, I think. And that's the problem. There's a lack of impactful Arcane Barrier equipment for classes to run. So if you're taking Arcane Barrier, you're taking a far less optimal piece of equipment. And we can do this nice and easily with their database. Alright, so Vexing Quillan. Runeblade, right, has a proper effect. Skullhorn. Arcane Lantern is good deck tech for any class that has one-handed weapons. Problem is, it's not everyone. Other than that, you have Arcanite Skullcap, which is probably the only like super impactful one. The majority you'll find are Mech and Ranger, weirdly. Or Runeblade. But yeah. So many classes don't have specific Arcane Barrier that's useful, and that's a problem. Because then you have to run Null Rune, and that is such a downgrade. In some slots, it's okay, right? Because, you know, Gloves is probably the least competed slot in terms of powerful effects. But Boots. I mean, the only Boots that have Arcane Barrier, Wizard, and Mechanologist from the looks of it. Or an Illusionist. But I can't. Mainly Warrior. Yeah. Which I guess Arcane Lantern's meant to help out. But then taking one less weapon, if you are doing one-handed stuff, is also kind of detrimental. So I fully expect that the majority, if not all of the expansion slot, is just simply going to be equipment. Unless there is, you know, some sort of groundbreaking new arcane handling mechanical system developed. Which also, in that sense, right? If there is a new system put into place for Arcane, then they have to be in the generic slot. There are 4 classes that already have, again, a substantial amount of Arcane Barrier, right? Runeblade and Wizard already have a lot of their major equipment with Arcane Barrier. That doesn't make sense, especially in a talented set, right? There's too much going on for them to be able to throw in this whole new system. If it was a Wizard-specific set or just Arcane without the talent, sure, I can see a lot more of it devoted to helping other classes along. But it's going to be a very weird set. There has to be a lot of stuff jumbled in. Now, thematically, yes, that's a good thing, right? Thematically does matter. Because there should always be good and bad matchups. But, at the same time, you want everything to be competitive and viable, because they're selling a product here. You can't have one class too damn. Or then they spend, you know, too much time devoted to it, and we get right, like, again. But I suppose that all Warrior set, no one would bat an eye at, and that would probably be received quite well. I forget, was Skullcap being reprinted? Now, Guardians have the absurd amount of block, but then they also have a decent amount of damage prevention effects, don't they? I mean, that's probably the other factor you should look at, is just straight up damage prevention. Which I assume damage prevention doesn't actually work, and I should just type in prevent. Guardians, Blessing, Steadfast, I guess the new cards. There's not really that many overall. But again, compared to other classes, right? So it goes Wizard and Runeblade, Illusionist, Ranger Mechanologist, Guardian would be the, you know, who has a decent chunk of ways to get around Arcane. I mean, and the fact that they're instant is also impactful. That's what we're looking for. Okay, Uprising. See what we can find. Bunch of Dromai stuff to fit on most likely. I mean, Faye's still in it. No Ice Wizard or... Was there any actual Elemental just Wizard cards? There are, but they're Ice, unfortunately. There might be some weird effects that still have use. Where? Oh, they're at the start. Oh, it's... Ooh. Coldfall Ash is actually kind of nice. You can never have too many. Again, have to wait till the reminder's back, but... So, Coldfall's at the back. Majestics are at the start. Alright. I don't think we got anything in this. It was Flex and Sigil. Thank God for finally having unified positioning of cards. Alright. No M, foil, and no cold foil. At least they're paper. Alright, hypothermia. So, the ice can't be used. I know everyone hates ice, but I still think it could return in some sense. I just don't like the feel of a game being predicated on nothing rotates out, having cards just in limbo. Like banned, sure, but just not playable under any banner is kind of weird. Nada and nada. Red Oasis? No. Oasis is probably worth something. Oh, burn them all. That's all playing Dromai, didn't it? Brothers in Arms Klloo. No good. Maybe as a random Majestic or as an army deck, I should come back. Slow down the meta. Yeah. I was hoping for Ice Guardian. Nice dragon. Yeah, and have to wait till Dromai. I think just some cap to Frostbite or some way. What was the idea I floated? Oh, Fog Down's actually a decent one, I think. Has it seen any rise? Because negating Go Again, especially coming into Lightning, could be really good. The hero idea I was pitching for Frost was something like if your opponent controls more than one Frostbite token, destroy them and do X, right? So basically you can either end the turn with them having one Frostbite token or, you know, receiving sort of effect. Because I do think capping it in some form will go a long way. It's still meant to slow down, it's still meant to be fatigue and control, but being able to, you know, throw out so many Frostbite. I mean, heck, even two Frostbite is already kind of damning. 1 is sort of manageable. I was also expecting more than 2 decks for the strike decks. I feel like actually it could have been... Well, 2 Guardians would have been a little bit weird for people. It could have been, though, Earth Guardian, Ice Wizard? Nah, that doesn't feel weird. Ice Ranger? That feels worse. I think Ice doesn't match well with Guardian or Ranger, just because they have so many other debilitating cards already. Right? Frostbite plus Crush is horrible. Frostbite plus Arrows could be horrible. So maybe that was the problem. It needs to be on a different class entirely. Frostbrute. Frostbrute could be interesting. Strike deck seems to be a preset guide for new players. They can do release stuff. Hopefully. We'll know more, hopefully sooner than later. I'll hold my tongue, right, until we actually get the full details. Yeti class would be cool. And I don't know, you make them have more discard, right? So the whole idea is you're freezing and then throwing out like one big thing or something. Or again, have a shatter effect, where if your opponent has Frostbite, you consume it to do something. And a ton of dragons. Not the marbles, the good marbles. The dragons nonetheless. I actually know what normal M's are good. Another Fog Down. Might get a playset. No problem with Bog Down, right, is because it affects you too. Although I don't see any point to not throwing out as the last thing during your turn. I'm also super curious how much the Aurora deck differentiate from one another. That's kind of weird that they've gone to Auroras with the same ability too. They didn't, make a wow. Actually, I say that. I can't remember on the spoiler page. Does it show Aurora's ability? It might not, so she might have a different ability. I pray that she has a different ability. No, she has the same ability. Never mind. Right, oh! There we go. Decent. Only Rainbow Foil, and some sort of weird mark, unfortunately. But still, that is a nice legendary to find. There's these ones. Oh, they're inner sleeves. They can't sleeves. Yeah, they have to be bridges to the sets, and they have to be, again, I think the idea that was floated the most was just a way to give players, those few extra weeks, so when they go into their pre-release, they're upskilled in time, and they have the safety net of picking Aurora, or maybe the strike decks are legal, and they can play them against the other blitz decks, or something like that, but there's only so many cards in the set, and so many cards that are going to be focused for Aurora, for them to build two viable decks with Aurora for Blitz. So I'm very curious how much it differentiates the strike deck from the actual inset Blitz deck. Ooh, no, let's trade in. And no control. Bit of the rubbish. Also means, you know, some of the Earth cards will have to be most likely catering towards Terror as well. Again, for it to have a proper lead into the deck. Slightly sad that the Blitz decks in the US are no longer separate. But marketing is the thing. Yeah. I think actually Riddler Man said it well. He wanted the ability to buy, you know, specific ones. And that's the example I make, right? The reason they've bundled them together is to stop LGS's, you know, having a surplus of one deck because, again, it's vastly less popular. And then having to reorder a whole display, get a whole bunch more copies of decks that aren't going to sell to actually get the ones that will sell. Given their stance with Blitz, yeah, I think it is actually viable that they do turn around and change it, and they go, you know, here's a Blitz-centric ability and here's a class-constructed-centric ability. And I think that would actually do wonders because obviously they're vastly different from one another from tempo, right? And I don't think no matter how quick the class-constructed meta gets, that it will ever, you know, be akin to Blitz. So I would love to see them do two different abilities. Ones that, again, make sense for this hero to be viable in Blitz, and one for the hero to be viable in Class Constructed. Same time, no. It's too much of a headache for them, right? Because while they have a more lenient approach to Blitz now, they also have sets to test and play and do everything like that, right? So for them to, you know, want to do pre-release events still as young heroes, they want it to still be the same as the adult version, right? So that you get that feel, you get the training, you get the upskilling, and the ability to then go to CC after all the release events. So in set, I cannot see them ever being different from one another, but I would highly expect us to get a whole more Blitz variants with better paced abilities. I am hoping that there are a bunch more heroes than we expect, thanks to the God, what am I trying to say? Marvels, yeah, because there's so many Marvels. I do expect a bunch more heroes. But I cannot see any semblance of cards to Marvelize, unless there's a big mechanic like Transcend again, which I highly doubt. I mean, they could do equipment again. I think they better have learned their lesson from equipment, unless it's vastly different. Though we don't want equipment Marvels. We love the hero Marvels. Right, so 8 in the set already is fantastic. But I would very much like if it's a whole bunch of heroes. And adult heroes, so again, they actually have value to them. Alright, can we get anything at the end here? Insidious Chill. It's a nice card. Damn. New Ice Fuse, move Frost counter if you do target hero. So the whole extra Frost mechanic is also pretty much to blame, right? The whole discard mechanic along with Frostbite. So again, I think there's ways to make Frost workable. It's definitely avoiding certain mechanics and reining in Frostbite. Nada. I'm still missing one Cold Foil. Weapon Marvels, also. If they could guarantee that the weapon was going to be the weapon for the hero. Again, this goes back to the whole signature weapon feel where you just have one signature weapon being significantly better and therefore being the actual signature weapon for everyone. like regardless of what the board says, Mandible Claw is the signature weapon for Brute, regardless of any Brute that's printed. So if they could make a Marvel weapon that is actually useful and actually desirable, then sure. But you've got them already eating up the armory kits and all these different promo slots, where it doesn't make sense for them to create Marvels of those cards, because then it immensely devalues their freebie card. That's again meant to get people a buzz for going to events, getting these promos, and them actually having a little bit of value to them. What I would like to see is a legendary weapon. And I would expect legendary weapons once we get to the point of critical mass for equipment. And there's just, no more room for equipment. And weapons, the other thing is you could, for Marvels, right, having full art for a weapon is just easily better, because the majority of weapons will fit a portrait piece of art significantly better. And we got Halo Miter. There we are, right? Oh, either of these. So even if these were just blown up, it'd be fantastic. Doesn't even have to be altered in that much sense, but just blown up to be the whole of the card. Alright, last handful of backs. Race Face. That's a decent M, is it not? We did get the Cold War. What was it? Quelling Sleeves. What does Quelling Sleeves do? If a hero be dealt damage, you may pay 1, and it's a destroy effect though. Although Quell, what's the phrasing I'm looking for? I always undervalued Quell because I just read it. It's a one-off destruction effect. But the fact that you can use one piece of Quell and then that can cover damage prevention for your whole turn is pretty strong. Again, if they put Quell in Tails, that could be useful. The whole idea is, you sacrifice your arms, and this gives you a blanket turn of being able to prevent damage. Problem is, it's only one of each instance, so it'd have to be some variant, or just, again, a higher Quell number. I think overall, if they just increase the numbers of everything, that could work as well. Like Quell, Spell Void, all that should have much higher numbers to actually make them viable compared to Arcane Barrier. Like if it was Quell 2, pay 1 to prevent 2 damage. That would be insane. 2 damage off every instance of damage I'm taking for a whole turn. Yeah, I'd probably run that over in an aggro deck over Arcane Barrier. Was talking to a buddy about 5 years from now, when the classes are huge. Gonna be weird to see how they deal with it. Yeah. I mean, you'd have to get a new rarity at that point. I mean, they're doing a good balancing act of the number of legendaries every class has. Sets are also coming down to, a science, right? There's 5 in this next set, so it'll be 1 Runeblade, 1 Wizard, 1 Lightning, 1 Earth, 1 Generic. Right? But we'd have to get to the point where there's, all 4 pieces for every single class. So what then? It'll be interesting. Right? That's kind of what's exciting. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? If you went back to someone who played OG Yu-Gi-Oh! And you showed them a Synchro Monster, or what's the other one? Pendulum? Right? They'd be absolutely gobsmacked. And Fab will definitely have that moment, just from its design, where, again, it will just morph and change and be insane. When you go to the initial set, if you thought talents were a thing. Or a unique resource for 1 talent. It's also insane. Flamescale Furnace. Definitely a nice pull. Other than that, pretty much nada. Again, it's not really an active set, so what can you expect? They'll come around one day. Flamescale Furnace. And there's easy ways for them to enable a bunch of stuff too. Right? If they made a whole bunch of crowns, and I always want to see that, right, where they were crown, if you have this equipped, you have this talent as well. I think that would be super impactful. I think that's one of the limitations that they have, is they are so conservative and scared to open up deck design, right, that we sort of lose that fun aspect. Because even me, who personally just does a whole bunch of combo-y bullshit, right, Fairyland, Dream, just trying to do something insane rather than play competitively, I look through classes and I go, well, this would be really fun if I could do this, but I just can't. So being able to, again, going back to Bright Lights, if all the mech stuff was open to everyone, it wouldn't be fantastic, but it would be fun. It would be a different thing to try. As long as they don't introduce different IPs into Fab. So it means, like MTG has Assassin's Creed coming up. What else they do? A whole bunch of random shit. Where it's outer world lore, fandoms, I guess is the way to explain it. Which I can't see, right? I doubt Fab will ever get that popular. And I don't see any reason for them to. Like MTG, from its beginning, right, was just a random assortment of stuff. Then it shifted towards them actually developing something behind it. I mean, look, Arabian Nights. It's Aladdin. End of story. They didn't have they didn't have Planewalkers, they didn't have Eldrazi, they didn't have that idea cemented just yet. But Fab, from the get-go, was already a built world, right, that they're trying to expand upon. I think people sort of forget that because they did eventually, make a bunch of lore and everything for MTG. The MTG was just a mechanical game. It was baseless, right? And then they developed it as the fandom grew. Whereas Fab, they developed the idea first, and then the fandom's growing around it. But I think it's a bit more forgivable. Like if Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Who have the anime backing or the story backing, right? Then it's kind of weird.